Okay, so multiplying and dividing rational expressions, you would start out with a problem that looks like this. Now, we want to get it to multiplication so that it's easier to solve. So what you would do is you would completely switch this side. So you would put these numbers on top and these ones on the bottom. So it would end up looking like this on the right. And then from there, what you can do is you're going to want to factor these. So like 3x plus 27, that would be, you could take a 3 out of that. You can take a 3 and then a 3 out of the 27 now, and then it would become 3 times x plus 9. And once everything is factored, you can then continue to cross out the factored form. So like we have an x minus 8 up here and an x minus 8 down there, so you can cancel those out. So you would end up being left with x plus 4 over 2x. Okay, so adding and subtracting rational expressions. When you have addition, you can't just factor out the numbers and then cancel them out if they're common. You have to factor out everything, so you get this and this. It's like 6x plus 24. We can take a 6 out of this and a 6 out of the 24, so you'd be left with 6 on the outside times x plus 4, and that would be how you would factor that. But because we're factoring, you can't just cancel out top and bottom if they have this. Because we're adding, you can't just cancel out top and bottom because they're the same factored form. So then also with adding, you want to have a common denominator. You have to have a common denominator as well as division. Otherwise, you can't simplify it. So to get a common denominator for this problem, we would need to multiply this side of the equation with x plus 5, so that it would become 6 times x plus 4, x plus 5. And then you would need to multiply this side of the equation with 6 over 6. And these both equal 1. It's just so that we can have the same common denominator. Now once you have the denominator, you can combine them and also simplify, leaving you with this answer. Solving rational equations. Okay, so when solving for rational equations, you're going to have a problem that looks like this. And straight off the bat, we can tell that x plus 3, and x minus 4, the common denominator is going to be x plus 3, x minus 4. So we need to have each of these separate top ones to have the same denominator on the bottom. So how we're going to have to do that is we're going to have to multiply each of these separate factors into fractions, these separate fractions, by x plus 3 and x minus 4, so that they can all have the common denominator of x plus 3, x minus 4. So once we do that, you can also cancel out. So we have x plus 3 here and x plus 3 there, so that just cancels. X plus 3 here, x plus 3 there, x minus 4 there, x minus 4 there. So you can cancel out all the denominators so that it's not a fraction anymore. And then with the remainder, you just put those on the top with the numbers and simplify. So we have it like this, and then eventually what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to distribute these, and you're going to want to FOIL out these, and then distribute this as well. Then that would leave you with something that looks like this, and you're going to want to set it equal to 0. And then once you have it equal to 0, divide each of these by 2, which would leave you with a smaller, easier equation to factor out. And then you would factor it out to x plus 3 and x minus 2. And then it's going to be, you're going to end up with 2 answers for x. And it would be x equals -3, 2, and you're going to want to put it in a solution set like that. So, work time. If I paint a fence in 10 hours and you paint a fence in 5 hours, together we would paint a fence in blank hours. Now, how we solve for this, x would equal the number of hours taken to complete the job together. So you would set this equation up with 1 over 10 for the 10 hours it took me to make the fence. x for the time it takes us to make the fence together, plus 1 over 5 for the 5 hours it took you to paint the fence, x for the time it takes for us to paint it together equals 1. So we can simplify this easier, and we can just make that x over 10 plus x over 5 equals 1. And to add these two, we need a common denominator. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to multiply x over 5 times 2 over 2. Because 2 over 2 also equals 1. So it's not changing the numbers, it's making them equal to the other ones. Now also, this would become x over 10 plus 2x over 10 equals 1. And we can combine these two because they have a common denominator. And that will then become 3x over 10. And then what we can do is we can multiply both sides by 10 so that these 10s cancel out. And we're left with 3x equals 10. And then divide both sides by 3, and your final answer would be x equals 3.3 hours. And that is the time it would take us to paint the fence together. Okay, so I think that it's really important that we diversify ourselves in other cultures and experience other people's lifestyles. And personally, we're all the same. We're all human beings. We all breathe. We all eat. We all have fingernails. We all have to do homework. We all have to work for money and provide for our families. But unfortunately, that's super hard for some other people to grasp. And I think judging somebody by the color of their skin or what race they are is just awful, and I think that's a major thing that we need to overcome nowadays. And personally, people just need to be more accepting of other people and realize that, wow, we really are all the same. We all live on the same planet. We're all gonna have jobs probably when we grow up, and it's just, I think it's hard for some people to grasp that, but I think also people need to travel and they need to experience other lifestyles and how we are not all the same. And we need to experience different food and different cultures and just everything, and I just think it's important to diversify ourselves.